Hey there folks, David here, aka Toki with the Random Makers, and today we are going to learn how to make a drinking horn. So here's one that I've already made. This one here is going to a happy customer. It's going to be a gift. So this here is made from ox horn, and it is epoxy lined. Food safe epoxy, important that one. And this is a leather belt frog that I made up for it. If you want to learn how to make that, let us know in the comments. This is the horn we're going to be working with today. Pretty big one, holds about 1.5 liters, and it is a nice size. This one I'm making for a friend that I know online. So, let's get to it, shall we? This build's going to be pretty simple. It's just going to be sandpaper, buffing wheel, and 2-part epoxy that is food safe. It is easy for you to follow along, easy to do. The most difficult thing is probably sourcing horn. So I sourced mine locally to begin with. I got them from a local slaughterhouse. He prided himself on using every single part of the animal, and he was saving the horns. He didn't know what they would be used for, but he knew that one day someone was going to come asking for them. So in steps me, and he's so happy, and he sells them all to me at a very reasonable price. Now that's where I got started, but I wanted more variety, and cattle is becoming more and more chemically cauterized for the horns for both their safety and the safety of the other cattle. So not a whole lot of horns, most part. So I sourced some out from an export company, and they only want to sell in bulk, so that might be a little more difficult for you to get a hold of unless it's something that you want to start a hobby with. They won't ask that you continually buy from them, but they ask that you buy a lot to begin with. They usually want to sell about $500 minimum, or they won't even bother talking to you. So, that being said, I'll show you how I make my drinking. Now, you need to be careful when working with this stuff because it is bone dust. So you need to wear a respirator. Working outside is best, obviously. And safety glasses. You don't want this stuff getting in your eyes or in your lungs. It's not great for you. Alrighty. If you're ready, let's get to it. Alrighty, so I like to start with 220 grit, and then I work my way up 400, then 600. And then I take a bit of a jump. I go to 1000, then 1200. Then I buff it with a buffing wheel on a, well, bench grinder. And then I line it with 2-part epoxy. Alright, now it's very important that when you're sanding horn, you go in one direction with the grain. So you start at the top, go down to the point, or back up. You only want to go in one direction, otherwise you're going to get little spirals in it. And that is going to be pretty darn hard to get out later on. You're going to need to come back and do more sanding. Chances are you're going to have to do a lot of back and forth anyway, just to get it where you want it. If you want to have a nice bright shiny finish, then you're going to want to go back and forth until it's the way you like it. Or if you want a nice matte finish, then you're going to have to decide where you want to stop with the sandpaper. A nice matte finish is probably somewhere around 600 to 800 grit, and that'll leave it nice and just smooth. But if you want a nice glossy finish, go as high as you want with sandpaper. I'd recommend around 1400, and then buff it, because the buffer will get you exactly where you want to go, depending on which polishing compound you use. Now, I don't know everything about polishing compounds. That might be a question for Matt if you're interested in that. But I use the green stick on my buffing wheel. So, let's get to it. Alrighty, so this here is 220 grit. Now, we're going to go up to 400. Alrighty, here we are, 400, and now we're on our way to 600 grit. Alrighty folks, so this right here is 600 grit. So you could stop here if you want a nice matte finish, or I'm going to keep going. Next, we have 1000. Here we go, 1000. Alrighty. Here it is at 1000. One sandpaper stage left for what I'm doing, and that is the 1200. Now here we are at 1200 grit. Not so bad. Okay, next step is to buff and then correct any imperfections. Alright, I don't have the right camera set up to show you the entire process on the buffing wheel, but it goes something like this. You turn the machine on, you apply some compound very carefully. As it spins, it'll rub some of this compound into the wheel itself. And then you're going to take the horn and you're going to continue going with the grain. So you're going to go with the grain all the way around the horn. And then you're going to wipe it with a cloth, and then you're going to do it again. Now you can also do this with a Dremel, or you can hand polish it. Whatever works for you, wherever you feel like doing. This is obviously faster, but with speed comes danger, obviously. So be very careful in this step. Alrighty, here we go. Alrighty, there we are. Nice, shiny drinking horn. Now you're going to want to wipe it with a nice soft cloth, not microfiber. I don't like using those on horns. And then you're going to want to line it with a 2-part epoxy that is food safe. Alright? So, make sure it's nice and clean. Line it, and away you go. And there you have it. Toki with the Random Makers. Have a good one.